Stand up. There you go. You were dreaming. What's your name?
Welcome back to Morrowind. Today we are joining Grasshole for his adventure through the land of Vardenfell. We are going to be going through the game and only equipping items that we absolutely need in order to progress. We're going to be a Nord for the increased endurance and strength, as I like to usually do. The class doesn't really matter, our major and minor skills. The only things that really matter, I need hand-to-hand, I need unarmored, I need blunt weapon, and I need short blade. Everything else can be wherever, it doesn't matter. The stats aren't going to matter all that much, because I'm going to be training most of my stats up anyway. I also chose to start with Restoration because I figured it would be nice to have a healing spell to start, but I didn't really think any other magics would be particularly important. Lady Sign for extra endurance, and there's the screen. Gonna take our limeware platter as usual in order to get a good amount of starting gold, and here's Teriel. We can't equip any of these items, but I'm going to take some of them to sell, and you never equip the Scrolls of Ikarian Flight, so I don't feel bad taking them. I'm also going to grab the money off the taxman, get some money out of this hollow, and then head over to Fornginth's shack to confront him about murdering the taxman. This is going to be a bulk of the combat in this video, hand-to-hand fights. They are not short. Most of the time, I will get 3 to 4 levels in hand-to-hand before the fight even ends. Hand-to-hand is a really cool skill though. Not having to carry around a weapon saves you a lot of inventory weight, and it's funny to watch them flop over and then you beat them while they're on the ground. That sounds bad when I say it out loud, but it's still funny, so. There he goes. His last breath. We get the ring. We let the taxman know the deed is done. And we pick up this quest to find Fargoth's gold. We will not be returning his portion of the gold, just keeping it for ourselves. So, Fargoth got stuck on a guard. And, there was no end of this in sight. But never fear. There's always a workaround. Come on, move, guard, move. He's trying to get by. If you just wait for an hour, Fargoth will move, and then you can go loot his stash. I also head to Solstheim early on because you can go to Fort Frostmoth, and the captain of the fort has a limeware set in his bedroom. There's also an assortment of items that are cheap and easy to sell to Creeper, as well as a whole library full of books that you can sell to Garrick. So I grab as much as I can carry before I head back to Vardenfell. Coming back to Cool, we can also take a Siltstrider to Aldrun, and this is where I can join the Mages Guild in this playthrough. Normally I do it in Balmora, but instead of stopping by Balmora in the beginning, I figure I can give myself a few levels and see if that improves the loot in the garbage containers that much. Spoiler alert, it did not, but it has a better chance to have higher level loot when you're a higher level, so. Anyway, we sell as much as we can to Creeper and make some early money in order to get some early training. Selling all of these books to Varric Germain is also going to be super handy, and I actually have to wait a few days for him to be able to afford all of the books that I want to sell him. But once that's done, I can start my training montage. The order of attributes I want to increase are going to be as follows. I want endurance first, so I can get more health on level up. Then I want strength to carry more things, speed to get through the game faster, and agility. We can see here I am assaulted by a member of the Dark Brotherhood. This happens frequently, as in most playthroughs, but it takes a painfully long time to dispatch with this assassin because I'm only using my fists. I can't even use this stuff, but it is worth a bit. I start invading houses in Balmora to take anything that isn't nailed down. Fortunately for me, the owner of this particular house is deceased and will not care if I take his stuff. I shut his servant in their quarters and don't let them see me do what I'm doing, but, you know, he doesn't need this stuff anyway. I'm taking ingredients as well because they actually have a decent value to weight ratio. But there are some houses in Balmora with owners that don't care if you take their things. This is Fast Eddie's house. Fast Eddie is a former member of House Telvanni, and a lot of the time Telvanni wizards don't really care if you take the mundane stuff that just sits around their abode. But if you take things that are more valuable, they get a little upset. Getting a little bit more desperate for money, I decide to rely on the Sword of White Woe in the guard tower in Balmora. This sword is worth 17,000 gold at maximum condition, and that's going to help immensely. I didn't notice, but when I was arrested for that crime, I also had my pants taken away, and the reason I'm keeping my pants equipped is because
I am not amused.
A lot of NPCs refuse to talk to you if you are not wearing pants. It's not quite 100% required, but if I can have NPCs more reliably talk to me, then that's a good thing. We swing by Arkthend to grab the Dwemer puzzle box because I will be completing the main quest in this playthrough. And here's another rich person that doesn't really care if you take their things. This is another owner of a manor in Balmora, and he just seems to really like Outlanders, so I guess he doesn't really care that you're taking his stuff. Now we have to find a skull, and you'd think this would be difficult since I'm unarmed, but fortunately these hands are rated E for everyone. Everyone includes ghosts and skeletons. It also includes these zombie flesh amalgams. I don't actually know what a bone walker is supposed to be. But we pick up the skull and take it back to the orc to fuel Caius's addiction to paper. In order to sate his hunger for even more paper, we need to go to Vivek to help 3 different people out. First is Julia. He's a member of the Morag Tong. Pretty good at fighting, but he would rather not kill these people. So we help him out by knocking them down to make them easier to stab. There was no way I was going to be able to talk my way out of this fight. But once the enemies are on the ground, he starts doing immense damage to them, and we walk out of here relatively unscathed. I take a little bit of damage, but I've been over-leveling for a while now, so I can just kind of brush through the early game. Plus, hand-to-hand is painful to use. Anyway, we get there. We get the first set of notes that we need for Caius's paper addiction. Secondly, we need to take care of this officer so that we can have a member of the Thieves Guild give us a little bit more information and yet more paper for Caius's visions. The Khajiit is very happy that we took care of the taxman, so she has no problem giving us the information we need. And then we meet Mira Milo in the Vivek library, and she recommends a book that we should check out, Progress of Truth. It's apparently banned by the temple, so we pocket one of them on our way out. We get another level and a little bit more progress. I spend a lot of time just trying to evenly level my stats so that I can go at the lowest level possible to get what I need done. Training is boring, but it's efficient. So here we are in Aldrun, getting a book of poems for an Ashlander so that he can give us even more paper for Caius. He must be running some kind of business on the side. The next step is to head to the Urshalaku Burial Cavern and fight a ghost that has a bow that we need. The bow is going to be extremely unuseful. We can't even use it. I'm just going to sell it to Creeper. But then we can head over to the Ursulaku camp and have an audience with the wise woman, because that's why Kaya sent us here. She says a lot of things that don't really matter about some kind of Nerevarine or whatever. This is not really important. I mean, it's actually extremely important, but it's not important. What is important is that we make our way to Ilumbi in order to contract Corpus. Now, why would contracting Corpus be useful? Well, we can pick up our gloves for one, the Fists of Randagulf, but they're really just going to be money for us since we can't use them this playthrough. But every time I rest in order to refresh Creeper's money, I gain strength permanently. The extra strength is going to be pretty helpful later on in the game, but we make our way over to Telfir so that Diviath can cure us, because we don't want to keep this disease forever. It makes people really hate us. I grab the key to do the treasure hunt for a little bit of extra cash, and once again, I lure all of the Corpus beasts in the first level of the Corpusarium to this little room with some shallow puddles in it. One of the chests is in here, but I just kind of run around until I need to be in this room to open the chest. Then I close the door, let the enemies converge on me here, loot the chest, wait for a little while, and eventually I can just open the door and let them in. Now, because Corpus beasts cannot use doors, I just kind of sit in the back, since they're really slow, run around them, and shut them in. Easy as pie. We head to Yagram, get him to fix the boots, we ask him about a few other things. We'll be back. We're going to take the amulet for quick travel back to Telfir later, and get our Corpus disease cured. Next on the docket, we need to hear about Caius's sad departure from Vardenfell back to the Imperial City. You will be missed. And we're just going to continue with the main story, freeing Mira Milo from the big rock above Vivek. The guards are none too happy to see us here, but it doesn't really matter. They don't report our crimes. Go into the wrong room like I always do first, and then save Mira. I rest here to get my magicka back because I was low. And we head over to the Dissident Priests to continue advancing the main story. Don't really know why I talked to Mira here. You really only need to talk to the leader of the Dissident Priests, go through all their text options, yada yada. They talk about stuff. Grasshole really doesn't care about any of this prophecy stuff. He just wants to go find Dagothar and put Sunder in his face. We pick up the mission to go to Corrigan, and while we're in Corrigan, first of all, fighting Ascended Sleepers is awful. The poison spell is relatively strong, and it has a pretty long duration as well. Fighting these Ascended Sleepers is never easy for this character because it takes a really long time to knock them out, and they have a lot of magicka that they can just spam spells with. If I keep a little bit of distance between me and them, I can sometimes dodge their spells by strafing, but a lot of the time it's just a lot of luck that I need when I'm fighting these Ascended Sleepers, especially in the beginning when I'm not really used to it. Eventually, this Ascended Sleeper goes down, and I can loot my 6th house cup from the... Wait a second. This is the wrong hut. Well, I rest to get my resources back, and then I go to the correct hut, where there's an Ash Ghoul, not an Ascended Sleeper. I forgot about that. So, Ash Ghouls are quite a bit easier. Their spells are weaker. They have a lot more health, but they don't have much they can do with it. So I pick up the things that I need from this room. I make my way to the end of the dungeon and use this column of stone to protect me from his spells. And Ash Vampires, while they're very bulky, once their fatigue is 0, they're not much of a threat. So once he's done, I go grab Spellbreaker like I meant to, and head into Red Mountain to retrieve some artifacts. First, I grab Sunder, because it's the easiest one in my opinion. Then I grab a book, because I'll need it. Then I grab a knife, because it's not too hard to get. And finally, one last book. Make my way back to the Ursulaku camp in order to be named Ursulaku Nerevarine, and head to the Cavern of the Incarnate.
The door is opened.
I didn't know you could punch a ghost. Well, those ghosts. Anyway, here we can become Ursulaku Nerevarine, and that's 1 out of 4. We don't need this thing, so you can just keep that. We fight a vampire on our way to the Zanib camp, because it's on the way. This vampire takes forever, but eventually he goes down. We take a woman to the new site of where her tribe can live. Watch out! We pick up the quest to become Telvanni Hortator while we're on this side of the world. The Ahamusa camp is directly north of Telvos, so then we can head to the Zanib camp like we were planning on doing in the first place to grab the quest to become the Zanib Nerevarine. Since the vampire is already dead, that's all sorted away. Now we just need to worry about getting him his bride. While we are in Telarune, we can pick up all the things that we need beforehand, pick up a very lovely bride for the Ashcan of the Zanib, and just tell her to wait down by the docks while we take care of some business. The only main threat in the way of becoming Hortator of House Telvanni is Archmagister Gothrin, because he doesn't really care about any of this stuff and he'll just delay everything indefinitely. If you punch the Dremora rather than Archmagister Gothrin, the other 2 people in this area will not become hostile. So I started off with trying to just get one of the Dremora to become deceased, and then I could figure out what to do with the second Dremora and Archmagister Gothrin, but unfortunately, Gothrin's ability to paralyze is too strong. So I need to figure out a different way to handle this, because this is way too inconsistent. As you can see, I couldn't even get one Dremora dispatched of before dying myself. Through a little bit of trial and error, I figured I could string them out, and then I'm only fighting 1 or 2 of them at a time rather than everyone. And once the 2 Dremora were taken care of, Gothrin chugged a bunch of potions, but largely was not a threat once he was on the ground. So we can head back to the dock, grab our friend, and get back to the Zanib camp. On the way back through Telvos, we can turn in the quest to become the Telvanni Hortator. Once again, don't need this robe, so just you keep it. And we make it back to the Zanib camp. Here's your bride. And I don't need your stupid necklace. You can keep it. Took the liberty of clearing out the Ashcan and his supporters before doing this part, but this is 4 out of 4. And here's your thing back. Now we're in Venom Manor. We need to rescue the counselor's son from Venom Manor in order for him to consider us, but he convinces all the other counselors, except for Bolvin, because he hates Outlanders, because he's a racist, and we just have to go fight him in the Vivek Arena. I thought about fighting him right here, but I didn't know if it would work correctly or not, so we just beat him up in the arena. Because his armor is so heavy, since he's wearing ebony armor, it doesn't take very long to knock him on the ground and start pummeling him. He has a lot of health though, so I cut out most of that. But now that he's dead, I can become the Hortator of House Redoran. I pick up the quest to become Hortator of House Hlalu. Once again, there's one person in the way. Seems like there's one person in the way for each of these three houses, but this one's Orvis Dren. And, I mean, we just go to his plantation, and we pick a fight, and things don't really go so well for him. He's a little bit harder since he's wearing medium armor and using a spear, both of which conserve his fatigue a lot more than using a big heavy sword and heavy armor. So that is Hortator of House Redoran. And Hortator of House Hlalu done. And that means I am Hortator and a Reverine. So I can head over to the temple, which for some reason did not unlock, so I broke in the back way to let this person know that I'm willing to talk to Vivek. He gives me the secret palace key, and Vivek gives me Wraithguard. Now that I have Wraithguard, and I had Sunder before, oh, well, I can just equip Sunder now, can't I? Now I don't have to beat people to death with my fists anymore either. I have a hammer. So, oh, this is great. I don't have to bash skulls in with my fists. I have a tool for that now. Now, the next part you might consider a little bit against the rules, but I decided at the beginning that the items that I'd be able to equip are, number 1, common pants. Like I said before, you need pants for people to talk to you. 2, keening. 3, Sunder, which I'm currently using. And 4, Wraithguard. However, there are 2 gloves that are named Wraithguard in this game, and they both do the same thing. I'm really only hurting myself when I do this as well, because it drains my maximum health. So, I get the Odd Dwemer artifact, head to this area via the use of the necklace so I can get back to Telfir quickly. And I ask Yagharim to reactivate Wraithguard with the 2 books that I have in my possession, Kagranek's Planebook and Kagranek's Journal. This will give me a second version of Wraithguard. The second version of Wraithguard appears as a Daedric Gauntlet, but it functions the exact same, except you wear it on your left hand rather than your right. And I didn't notice that it ripped my maximum health away from me when I put it on. I thought they fixed that with the patch, but apparently they didn't. Apparently that's an intended thing, so who knew? Now I have 2 gloves with the same name, that being Wraithguard. But with that business squared away, off we go back to Red Mountain. I used my Scrolls of Icarian Flight to make the journey faster. And I kind of saved what happened here because I thought it was really cool. I landed pretty much exactly where I need to be, and I didn't need to use a 3rd scroll. But here's Dagothar, eating Sunder, just like I wanted. 3 hits is all it takes. I wanted to try to fight Dagothar, but I tried a few times without it being on screen. It's very difficult to do that. The best thing to do is to run around him and just hide behind the heart, which is what ends up happening in this final attempt. You strike the heart once with Sunder, and then you need to strike the heart 5 times with Keening, and the enchantments containing the heart are destroyed. Dagothr comes out to fight, but he no longer has his divinity, and we can make a slow climb back up as Akulakan crumbles into the lava below. This was a pretty fun playthrough. I kind of liked being very limited in what I could use. Once again, training just kind of helps me advance through the game a lot faster than I should, but that also helps me put the videos out a little bit faster.
You no longer bear the burden of come.
So, with that, we are done. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. I'm always looking for more ideas. I do still have a couple kicking around, but I hope you enjoyed your time here. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.